Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp of the Limp, and we're going to jump right back into where we left off with Snap Ships Tactics. Did have a couple things I wanted to show you real quick that I forgot to show you in the first video. One, what is really neat is the ships have little pilots. Let me zoom that in so you guys can see that. But these come with them. Like I said, they're little toys you can play with as well. So there are little pilots here that you can put in the cockpits, and the cockpits actually open up. So if you actually want to have the pilot in there, you can do so. And to show you some of the other stuff they have. Now, this is not in game yet, but I want to see them add stuff like this in, because this was actually the first Snap ship that I got. I bought just a random one. This one was, I think, on sale on Amazon for like $10 or something like that. And I like the look of it because it's just awesome. It looks like a big Harrier, or not a big Harrier, big, funny looking helicopter or something. Gun turrets mounted all over the thing, some guns up front, turrets underneath it, cannons back here. Just, really cool looking ship. Now, the only thing is, look how big that is. These things are, here's, my hand, and I've got a good size hand, but you see how much space this takes. And that, again, is the one downside when it comes to Snap ships, is that the ships are just so large. Now, of course, this one is huge. This isn't officially in game yet, again, but you can see how big these things can become. And that is the drawback. I think this game is just better suited to a 4x6, probably at least, game. Now, you can do the 3x3 that I'm doing, but if you're doing a 3x3, you're pretty well stuck to two ships, just one on each side. You could do 2-on-2, but with the ranges going up to 2 of these, and you can see that's quickly going to cover the board. Depending on what weapon you're using, you can shoot from one side of the board to the other almost. All right, let's grab that. Look how long that is. That's a range 4 shot, right? And that's almost able to do across my entire 3x3 table. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the game. I think they've developed a really cool game, and I like using them with the ships and all that good stuff. But I almost wonder how this game would play with smaller ships. Like if I replaced the ships here with like X-Wing ships and figured out a way to transfer the token into that scale, but still use the parts and the ship cards and the like, it would expand it out a little bit, give you a little more room for maneuvering and the like. But anyway, let's get zoomed in here on our fighter, our Falx. It is his turn to go again. Now, the way the game works is once you've determined that initiative, and we determined he went first, it pretty much stays that way. So one side's going to activate, the next side's going to activate. If you have multiple ships, from the way it reads in the rulebook, one side will activate a ship, then the other side will activate a ship, and you'll go back and forth between the two. I could not find anything in the rules that said anything about having to activate a ship you hadn't activated yet. So let's say we had 2 on each side. If I had the Falx and the Saber, I didn't see anything that would require me to activate the Saber before the Falx. I'm not saying it's not there. Maybe I didn't read it in the rule book. Maybe I missed it. Something along those lines. It's possible. But I think if I'm reading the rules correctly, you could just activate whatever ship you wanted to activate. You're not required to activate either or. Right? So it's not a activate this one, then he's going to activate that one, and then I'm going to activate B, and then he's going to activate his B. It didn't seem to go that way. It's pretty much whatever ship you want to activate. I could be wrong, but I've read it through a couple of times, and I didn't see anything along those lines. Again, I'm human. I might have missed it, but it is what it is so far. Since we are activating our Falx here again, because we have to, it's the only ship we have. Remember, I have to do this. Right? And really, that's not going to change much because my evasion is still set at 2. I did take some hull damage on the previous turn. Honestly, I wish I had activated the cockpit, which would have given me more evasion, which I'll probably activate this turn because there's no reason for me not to. But my evasion's at 2. I get to burn power and heat off. I only have a single heat. If you guys remember from the previous video, it was the heat that was applied from the Wasp weapon. It applied it. I get to take that off, so I don't have to worry about that now. The heat is off of this. And I didn't spend any other power, and that was a mistake in my thinking. There was no reason for me not to activate that cockpit to give myself the extra evasion abilities, because why not, right? I wouldn't have had to worry about that power. I would have been able to easily get that back. So there was really no reason to hold on to that. And I'll probably definitely be activating that this turn to try to get a little extra evasion. So we've done our evasion, we've done our power and heat, and now I have to do a turn and a long. Have to do that, and then can do other stuff. And don't forget, each of my critical hits results in 1 extra damage. And let's go ahead and do our maneuver. I'm going to keep it in close so you guys can see a little better. And again, one of the things I really liked about this, if you guys can see those little notches right there and there, makes it so easy to do the turn. And I want to turn him in this direction towards the Wasp. We're going to back it out so you guys can see that in a second. So I'm going to put this little notch right here in the front. There we go. Got it seated in. And now I can turn anywhere up to where that L is pointed. I don't have to go that far, but I can go anywhere up to that. I'm just going to point him towards the enemy. And I think that's where I want to be. And then I will simply pull this back around so the L is directly in front of my ship. Hold that in place and slide him forward. And again, it's notched on this side. Makes it so easy to keep track of the movement I'm doing. Bam, just like that. I've got my movement and I'm good. All right, so I am pointing towards him, and now I'm going to activate things. I get to spend my power. I have 8. Right? Remember, I only get to burn 6 power and heat back on the next round. So I'm wanting to try to stay under that, but I want to cook him as much as possible. I want to try to hit him with that alpha strike that I mentioned previously. So I'm going to grab out the part cards that I'm using. Let's see, that's 3 power. That's going to be 4 power. And plus there's a bunch of heat, so I'll probably stop with this because that's already going to be more than 6. That's 8. So I know just with this I'm not able to get back everything that I've spent on the next round, plus whatever he does to me. All right, so I got my little stack of missiles, and here's what I'm doing. I've got my Hive missile pod that will go up to range 2. This guy is easily within range 2. You see, bam, bam, base to base. Easily got him in it. Both of these weapons fire at range 2, so that works really well for me. And I get to launch 3 missiles, right? Front half, and I've got him in the front quarter, so I'm good on both of these. But front half for these missile pods, which is nice, and this is 3 light missiles. So 3 of these, and remember, they've got their stats there on the back. That is so freaking awesome. I love that. That shows me the attack that they do. You see, each one of these will roll a single die. They are fairly accurate. I only have to add in the evasion rating of the target ship, and any that hit will do 2 damage. Now, these are the light missiles. So I'm throwing 3 light missiles on him, plus the missile rack here is also firing. You see, that's a little more narrow. It fires 2 heavy missiles. These are color-coded, so green is light, blue is the heavy, and I think red is the heat missiles. See, that is range 2 and 3. I can't use it at range 1. And when it comes to these missiles, which you can tell by looking at them, looking at their stats, not quite as accurate, a little bit harder to hit. Each one of them still rolling 1 die, but this does 5 freaking damage if it hits. So I absolutely want these missiles to hit because they can do so much damage. So I'm putting all of those missiles against this guy. But again, when it comes to missiles, they don't stay on the table. I wish they'd come up with a way to do it to where they would like track across the board and have like a maneuver template for them, but there isn't. What you do is you place it on that ship's card. For me, I'm going to leave it next to it so we know they're on there. And at the end of his next activation, so he's going to activate again. And when he does, he'll do his stuff, whatever his stuff is. And once his turn is over, then we resolve for all the missiles that are on there. So he has a chance to try to shoot them down or increase his invasion to make it harder for these missiles to hit him. What that's simulating is the fact that the missiles aren't like a laser beam. They're not hitting him instantly. They're tracking through space and heading towards his ship. So his anti-missile weapons and his evasion, whatever he can do to try to avoid these attacks. And the last thing I am doing is what I should have done on the previous turn. I am spending a single power here to add 1 to my evasion. So I get to bump this up to a 3. Makes me just a little bit harder to hit on his next activation. Now remember what I said, when you are activating your part cards, you make sure you keep all those part cards in a very specific order, right? 1 through 8 or however many part cards you have, because that will come into play when you roll for things like critical hits. You're rolling a D8 or, well, this is a 10, but it has 8 sides. Long story short, you're rolling this die to determine where it's hitting. And since it has 8 sides on it, that will tell you where it hits. So before he finishes, I do have 4 power left that I could spend to do more movement or something along those lines, but I don't want to spend any more because I already know, like I said, between power and heat, I'm spending 8 cubes, and I'm not going to be able to pull all those off, and you cannot use a part again until you clear it. So for example, this missile rack that has 2 heat and 2 power on it, if I just pull 2 heat off in the next activation, well, there's still 2 heat on that. So I have to be able to burn that heat off. I have to clear this card before I can fire those missiles again. And you know what? I've actually got an idea. I can use one other part to help myself out just a little bit. I can use this medium exhaust that I have, spend 1 power to remove 2 heat. So that is a net gain of 1. Basically, I'm getting a little extra heat removal. So I'm going to go ahead and spend that to remove a couple of heat off of him while I'm at it. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do one more thing. I probably shouldn't be spending all this, but might as well. I'm going to use his wings to basically perform a roll. I'm going to spend the 2 power, put on this card, and that's going to give me a small movement left or right. So I'm doing that to get out of the way and maybe try to get farther out of his arc. All right, so let's slot in here on the right. And again, it notches on the left and right of these ships. So that works really well. So I'm going this way. That way I'm trying to get out of his arc a little bit. That didn't go quite as far as I was hoping, but again, it's a small template. So I'm still getting used to the movement. It's not like X-Wing where I can visually see, like in my mind's eye, where the ship's going to end up. Still getting used to these large ships. All right, so now we are going to the Wasp. And the Wasp, between his proton cannon and his thrusters that he used on the previous turn, has 4 power and 2 heat to remove. That actually works really well for him because he does get to burn 6. So his evasion will be set at 3. His evasion's already set at 3. We're good there. But I do have to move. I can't just sit and like stall right there. I have to do this basic maneuver that is on his card. All right, so I have an idea with him. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we're going to try it out. And my goal is to end up somewhere down over here pointing at his 6. Even though he's not going to get a flanking bonus, I definitely want to get out of his gun arc. So I have to turn him a little bit. And we're going to go down this way. And right about there should be good. And we're going to do a long. That's going to leave him there. And now we're going to move a little bit more and try to shoot off some of these missiles that are on top of him. All right, so here's what we're going to do. He's coming down in this direction. I am thinking I'm going to use his thrusters here to do a long, then a short. The long has to be straight. The short can be straight or at an angle, at the front angle. So, there, or there, 45 degree, and then a U-turn. My goal is to hopefully end up back over here and then, kind of be pointing at his 6. I have to see if that works, but that's going to cost me a lot. That is 2 power and 3 heat being added to that card. So you cannot do that maneuver very often. It would take a whole round of an activation just to clear this card back out, this parts card. So let's do our straight. It has to go long forward. Now I will go here, this direction, and then loop around as such. So it kind of got me where I wanted to be. Now I'm pointing around here. I'm on his flank. That's okay. We can deal with that because he has to move before the Wasp has to go again. So the Wasp has a chance now to slot in on his 6. All right, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend 3 power to use his weapon, his anti-missile capabilities. I get to roll 1 die per missile and attempts to be able to take the missiles out. And this one actually has a bonus. It reduces the number by 1 that's required to take those missiles out. Again, we can see that on our tokens. These are 5, and I think the others are 6s. Yeah, the others are 6s. So he has a good chance of getting the light ones and an okay chance of getting those heavies off his ship. But remember, whatever he doesn't take out this turn gets a chance to attack him. Doesn't necessarily do its damage, but has a chance to attack him at the end of this activation. All right, so we'll start with the light missiles here. I'm going to roll for those to see if he is able to take those off his ship. And he got 1. 1 light missile. Damn, that did not work well for him. Now he is going to roll for the heavy missiles. I'm doing it separately because there is a difference by 1 on what he has to roll for these missiles. All right, so let's see if he gets the missiles. And he misses both. Oh, no! Now they have a chance to get him. He's still got 3 power, but unfortunately nothing left. Oop, bump him. Nothing left that he has will target these missiles. So he's going to end his activation here. And now this is when the missiles attempt to do their damage. Each one of these light ones can do 2. Each one of these heavies can do 5. So it depends on what they roll to hit. And I think they get some bonuses. Yeah, it's going to be different numbers because of their targeting. The light missiles actually have an easier chance to hit than the heavy missiles do. The light missiles are going to need 3s or better, and the heavy missiles are going to need 4 or better to hit the ship. All right, so let's roll for our light missiles. And both of them hit. Both light missiles hit. Oh, that's brutal. All right, I'm going to leave those dice there so I remember. And now we roll for these. They are looking for, was it 4 or better? 4 or better. They're going to hit. All right, so let's roll for our heavies. And oh no! Okay, this is about the worst they could have had. This is about the worst they could have had. Okay, not only do they hit, but the Falx does 1 extra damage on critical hits. So that actually bumps that up to a 6 damage instead of 5 damage. So that's 4 damage, 2 for each one of those. 10, 11, what is that? 15. 15 damage. I told you that's an alpha strike. Damn, if that light missile had hit, would have taken him out. He has lost everything. Let me turn this down to 1. He's down to a single point of hull from the alpha strike. And now we roll to determine what part is critically damaged. It's going to be 6, which is going to be his proton blaster. Okay, so when you're looking at a part, here's the part useful. You flip it over once it's been critically hit, and now you have to actually spend that. So you repair this card by flipping it face up. You have to spend whatever the repair cost is. But that energy stays, okay? So if he spends 3 energy, 3 power to flip this card over, that 3 power is going to stay on the side, and it has to be cleared before you can use it. So it's at least 2 turns once a part is critically hit for it to be able to come off. That is what this die represents, is the critical hit. So anytime that happens, you'll roll the die, and that's why I'm always telling you to lay the parts out in numbered order so you know which part it is that gets hit. All right, we'll go ahead and pause this one here. I want to leave enough for one more video, so we'll run one more turn with the Wasp being down to a single hull point after that missile salvo blew him apart. He's probably not long for this world. It's just going to take the Falx, I keep forgetting its name, the Falx turning around, getting his arc of fire pointed at him. He can't use any of his missiles. Now, he could use his light missiles, actually, because he took the heat off of those. So 1 power being taken off of that would allow him to use his missiles again. So just a little bit of a turn. Actually, he could get him an arc to fire those missiles, the light missiles, at him. And 3 light missiles, he would stand a good chance of taking that one last hull point off of him. But he still has, besides his missiles, he has his plasma cannon, which does 3 damage. But unfortunately, the plasma cannon only works at close range. That thing is really a missile boat, which, I mean, you see, the missile boat does its work. It puts out some pain. It puts out some pain, but the problem with that is that dice roll could have gone completely different. If he had rolled better on his removal and taken off a bunch of those missiles, then he might not even got hit. And then if the missiles had rolled badly, they might not have hit as well. So there's 2 chances for missiles not to hit. Missiles are ungodly good at putting out damage, but they have a very good chance of not hitting. His weapons put out a little less damage, but pretty good chance that they're going to hit. So he'll do a lot of chip, boom, 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 and take the enemy out that way. You know, a couple of salvos. If he gets his arcs right, he'll take him out. I should have been trying to get his frontal arc pointed, because I think I forgot when I was doing that he gets a bonus if his very front line there is pointing at the enemy. He reduces that hit number by 1. So if he can point directly at his target, he can take him out very, very quickly. Yeah, the weapon I haven't used yet for him is his attack cannon here. He has 2 sets. Oh, I see it. Look at that. 1 die or 2 die. I was like, why would you spend this? If he does it this way, it's directly in that front arc, so it has to be straight ahead. Can't be in the front 45 or anything like that. It has to be in that line in front of him. But if he does it and spends the extra power, he gets to convert all hits to critical hits, which will really tear his ship up. Plus, each one will do 4 damage. If he hits with both of those, that's 8 damage. And 2 criticals on top of it. That'll damn near kill a ship. But yeah, you guys stay tuned. We'll do one more run, see how it plays out. My guess is the Falx is probably going to take it. But yeah, it's at least 2 turns for him to get repaired enough and enough stuff, enough power and heat cubes taken off of him for him to really be viable again. And within 2 turns, he's absolutely going to get turned around, pointing at him, and get another missile salvo off. Because just like him, he also has a turnaround. His isn't quite as good. He doesn't get that short maneuver. He does get a little turn in there, though. Or he could do it like this and do a couple of 45s, so he could turn around and get pointed down around in this direction. And a lot of his weapons are 180-degree frontal arc. All right, I'll stop yapping. I keep talking about the strategy of it. I gotta say, I like it. If for this, it really comes down to those part cards. I think that aspect of the game, managing your power, managing your heat, and what parts you're going to use and when you're going to use them is the real key to the game here. That's the thing in games like X-Wing and the like, or any war game really. Band, I almost said Band of Brothers, Bolt Action, X-Wing, 40K, whatever it is. Most of your guys, they might have a one-off ability, but they tend to be able to use whatever it is. Like 40K, you get to shoot your bolters every round. You don't have to recharge them before you get to fire. You don't have to be as tactical when you're performing your attacks. In this game, you do. You have to be methodical to make sure you're allocating your power and your heat management appropriately, which is really thematic for this game with the ships and the way that they work. All right, you guys stay tuned. I will come back. We'll run one more round. We'll see how long the Wasp can last, or if he can maybe pull it out and get some shots off on the Falcons. We'll have to see. Anyway, you guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.